Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to our 2021 annual virtual American Human Rights Council Gala. First and foremost, we thank all of our friends, supporters who did not hesitate to join us for the second year in the row, supporting AHRC and the cause of human rights, despite the exceptional and extreme hardships and challenges that we all faced since last year and this year, and God knows what's next. So, our heartfelt appreciation to every supporter and every sponsor who helped us to make this gala another year of success despite all of these challenges. Second, our sincere condolences to the families who lost loved ones at the Oxford High School, and our best wishes for speedy recovery for those who injured. Definitely, this mass shootings and gun violence and domestic terrorism pose a true challenge facing our society locally and nationally. And this is one of those painful reminders that we have to go through, that domestic terrorism and gun violence and extremism continue to be one serious challenge facing all of us. Also, lately, we've been witnessing an increase in threats and acts of hate toward all, regardless of faith and race. This is something uh, pose another huge challenge facing our society. And I tell you one thing, facing all of these challenges is a common responsibility between people and the law enforcement family. This is not just one sided challenge. We all need to be responsible, and we all need to do our homework in order to combat these challenges, at least to contain them, at least to prevent, at least to protect. I myself was a victim of a swatting 2 weeks ago, and we heard about the unfortunate robbery and vandalism and threats against Congresswoman Debbie Dingell and others across the nation. And we hear of shooting, a mass shooting every day around the clock. This is true challenge facing our nation. On behalf of the AHRC family, we also thank our Congresswoman Debbie Dingell for taking the lead and asking the White House, the US administration, and the Department of Homeland Security to designate Lebanon for the temporary protected status because of the chaotic, catastrophic economical and social collapse and catastrophe that is taking course in Lebanon. In this spirit, once again, I welcome you and thank you for joining us tonight.
Can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleam, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave
Now, with the special greetings from both Congresswoman Debbie Dingell and Congresswoman Brenda Lawrence.
Hi, everyone. It's Congresswoman Debbie Dingell. I really wish I was there in person with you, and I'm just looking forward to the day that we're all able to be back together, unmasked, just sharing with each other. And I really can't wait till we're all in person celebrating the work of the American Human Rights Council's efforts on so many important things. Even through this pandemic, you've continued to adapt and put the human rights of people at home and abroad front and center. You're always helping people. I'm honored to be able to work with you and to support many of the efforts that you've done. You know, it's important that we treat every individual, every human being with dignity and respect. And that's even more important in this day and age where we are really seeing hatred and violence divide this country. It's not okay. I'm also working on a lot of things that you care about in Washington, from fighting for the TPS designation for Lebanon, to calling on our federal agencies to audit the no-fly list, worried about what's happening in Yemen, and so many foreign policy issues that must happen there. Thank you for all you do for so many. Thank you for the work of all of your members, your diligent public service defending, promoting, and advancing human rights across the world. Your work makes such a difference.
Methodist Church is represented here well today.
That's right. It's wonderful. Thank you to all of you. Thank you to all of our friends at the Islamic Center. This is so important what's being done every day, as well as what's being done here on Thanksgiving. So have a wonderful holiday.
Donating money to allow Islamic relief to come into ICD in the communities and donate over 1,000 turkeys and all the food that you see behind us to people in need, whoever needs anything. Ford is here to help, Ford Interfaith is here to help, Islamic relief. We're one community.
Many volunteers came out today to work and help the community. So alhamdulillah, it's a blessing to have these organizations come together so that we can share all the ajr. Thank you so much for everyone who donated. Thank you for everyone who contributed, who made dua, who came to volunteer. May Allah reward all of you.
Hello, I'm Congresswoman Brenda Lawrence, and I proudly represent Michigan's 14th Congressional District, and I'm honored to be a part of the American Human Rights Council Annual Spirit of Humanity Awards Gala. The AHRC has been a staple in Dearborn and Southeast Michigan for decades, protecting, promoting, and defending human rights for all people. We have such a rich diversity in Dearborn and the 14th District. And we know that diversity makes Michigan and all of the United States stronger. Uplifting the voices of all of our communities is so important. And there are countless people at AHRC who do that every single day. Tonight, we are recognizing the partners, the supporters, and volunteers of AHRC who works tirelessly to defend and protect human rights. Your unwavering determination and dedication, they are an inspiration to me as I continue to fight for human rights in Congress for these United States of America. Congratulations to the award winners here tonight, and I thank you again for all that you do. Please be safe, and I'll see you soon.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'd like to welcome you to the AHRC second annual virtual gala. My name is Saleh Musleh. I am the chairman of AHRC. On behalf of the board, I'd like to first welcome and thank Congresswomen Dingell and Lawrence for their participation and their welcomed comments. The last couple of years have been very challenging with COVID-19, and unfortunately, there is a resurgence from a medical perspective. I have noted that over the last week or so, and with a new strain. The future is uncertain, but let's hope for the best. AHRC cherishes and values the health and safety of all. As a result, the organization has elected to go for virtual gala for the second time. AHRC continues to address human rights crises that are unfortunately becoming more and more, whether it's in Yemen, Lebanon, Palestine, Syria, and virtually all over the world. AHRC will continue to address human rights crisis, whether in those mentioned or locally. There are a lot of local issues as well. I'd like to welcome our board members, honored guests, sponsors, and participants. Again, welcome to all of you, and let's proceed with this event, and hopefully it is very enlightening to us, and I appreciate the support that is for AHRC. Thank you and welcome again.
Welcome back again. And as when we talk about human rights, we talk about God-made rights, not the human-made rights. We talk about universal rights, including but not limited to health, education, and water. Water has been a true challenge locally, nationally, and across the world. We had painful reminders, the Flint experience, the Detroit experience, and many others. And to address this challenge, we are pleased to welcome one of the founding members of the Water Board, a coalition, an organization, a team of leaders who dedicated their efforts and devotion to fight for water as a human right equally to all. In that spirit, I welcome Ms. Sylvia Ordino to address this issue.
Thank you so very much. I am delighted to be here tonight with the American Human Rights Council, your annual gala. It is my pleasure to be able to talk to you tonight about human rights, especially in the context of water and sanitation in the state of Michigan. As mentioned, I am one of the founding members of the People's Water Board Coalition, which is a group of about 36 social justice, environmental, anti-poverty organizations, and faith-based groups. And in fact, one of them is the Islamic Organization of North America. We're pleased to have them as an important member. And so on the matter of human rights, I began this work about 25 years ago, working with the Michigan Welfare Rights Organization, which is a poor people's organization that works across the state, but is based in the city of Detroit. And we had been working, especially after welfare reform in 1995, to ensure that there would still be adequate work supports for families when they were forced to go into the workforce. And among the early problems we saw were problems with utilities and water in particular. And in those early years, there were already many thousands of shutoffs against households that could not afford to pay their bills. But what we saw were that human rights were one of the ways in which we could fight back, we could organize and unite with people across borders around the world, and also to find a common cause for what are these universal human needs that we have. So when we talk about human rights, we very much always reference what it is that the United Nations has done, especially through its resolutions, to ensure that there is a universal bill of human rights, and also some specific subsections around water and sanitation in particular. So for instance, around water, part of it is about whether or not you have adequate water just so that you can have the right to life, right? Enough for sustenance just to live. And then whether or not you have enough water for health, right? So basically to make sure that you are able to attain the highest standards of life for better health. The United Nations also says that every person should have a minimum of 13 to 26 gallons per person per day, or 50 to 100 liters. And we want to make sure that in the state of Michigan, this is also something that we are attempting to have through our local governments. It has been a struggle though, because as we've talked about it, one of the biggest problems is with affordability, that many of our communities have pushed on residents to pay bills that they can't afford. And so many residents end up getting their water disconnected. So what we've tried to really do to highlight human rights is say that, look, people cannot live their best possible life without water, because without water, it impacts your ability to function properly in school, to have an adequate job, to have a house. As we've told before, it's also grounds for having your children moved if you don't have water, residential running water service in your home. It also causes many public health problems with all kinds of waterborne diseases that can get into your pipes, and can also be a factor if you don't have adequate sanitation to be able to bathe, to flush your toilets, to wash your food properly as you prepare meals, and causes all kinds of other psychological and physical harms, such as dehydration, high blood pressure, fatigue, depression, or even the emotional stressors of worrying about where you're going to get your water next. We very much believe that these human rights are connected with the rights of the poor and the rights of people throughout the world. And so part of the connection that we do with communities of faith and people who are working for social justice is to make sure that we talk about the moral obligations that we also have to one another and to our communities. There's definitely more we could talk about. The United Nations came to Detroit in October 2014, and it was a really big learning lesson for not only local officials, but our state, to see how it is that around the world, while people think the United States is a leader around human rights, that we very much have problems in our own communities. And they flagged significant human rights violations when water was shut off from families who could not afford to pay. And there were no programs in place in order for them to ensure that they could have affordable water. So human rights are very much part of what we are experiencing also at the local level. They're not just something that is a foreign concept to us or for something that people to worry about around the world. Human rights are very much part of what we need to be worrying about here in Michigan as well. Thank you very much.
ADA was a journey to get to that point and finally get it passed. This month is celebrating that journey. It's celebrating the accomplishments. AHRC Detroit is an advocacy group for people with developmental disabilities, adults and children. People with disabilities can live a full and productive life. And they need to know that, and the community needs to know that.
See, the art show them how to do a lot of stuff on their own.
It's important to show people that we can do things just like everybody else.
This organization can be a vehicle for change, but it also can be a vehicle for a lot of the things in the city of Detroit that people need the most.
There are resources that can help us.
We're a more inclusive society for the ADA that was passed in 1990.
That's what's important to me.
And that should be important for all Detroiters to know that opportunity is rising.
Well, thank you, Sylvia, for your remarks regarding the water and the challenges facing our communities across Michigan and across the nation, across the globe. Once again, we affirm that water is a human right. This is a human right that should be accessible to everyone, to every person. It's not a privilege. It's a basic human right. When we talk about Detroit, it's one of those cities that's been impacted by the water challenge and toxic waste and hazard material and environmental injustices. But at the same time, we have a bright side to Detroit, which is our major city that we take pride of its diversity and inclusion, and many icons and many heroes who we worked with throughout the years, from Mayor Young to the late Marianne Mahaffey, and to the icon, Honorable Brenda Jones, who unfortunately, leaving her post as the president of the City Council of Detroit, she have the right to retire, pursue her future endeavor. We wish her a success. She's been a partner, she's been a friend, and she's been there every time we call on her. So it takes a great pleasure for me to welcome her to this gala with us. As every year, she actually participated with us on the galas when we did it in person, and now when we do it virtually. So welcome, my dear angel, Brenda Jones.
Thank you and good evening. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. And it is truly an honor for me to be here with you all this evening, glorious occasion. And I have teased Ahmad for so long, and I have told Ahmad how much I appreciate everything he has done. And I tell him all the time, he is one that represents all of the cultures. He represents everyone. And so I tonight want to present him with a Spirit of Detroit Award. And it just is an award that I'm going to call an all culture award. And it reads, and he has many of them, but none of them says all culture. This Spirit of Detroit Award is presented herewith as an expression of the gratitude and esteem of the citizens of Detroit to Mr. Ahmad Hamad, Executive Director, American Human Rights Council, AHRC, in recognition of exceptional achievement, outstanding leadership, and dedication to improving the quality of life. By the City Council of Detroit, Michigan, Council President Brenda Jones, and the Detroit City Council recognizes and commends you for your significant contributions to protect, promote, and defend human rights as an all-culture award. Founder and Executive Director of the American Human Rights Council, you have played a critical role in building bridges between Arab Americans and the wider community. And that's why it's an all-culture award. While encouraging us all to embrace our common humanity, your progressive leadership, tireless dedication, and passion for helping others is evidence in your good work and your life and frontline activism has truly been an example of self-sacrifice and selfless duty. Ahmad Hamad, we commend and thank you for all that you have done. You are a man of the people. And we present you, and I call it an all cultural award. And I have the award here for you. I will be getting it to you very soon. We have been saying we were going to get together, and we definitely will be getting together so that I can present this award to you officially before December the 31st. God bless you. I love you. I appreciate you. You do so much. You give so much. And I ask God to continue to keep his loving arms around you as you continue to try to protect all of humanity. God bless you.
Wow. I really appreciate it. I'm humbled to receive this recognition. I take it on behalf of all the hidden soldiers behind the great work of AHRC. It's true that I'm the face and the voice of it, but believe me, it's a teamwork at the end. So thank you so much for such surprise acknowledgement and award. It means a lot. God bless you, and we wish you the best as well. Our endeavor, our journey is not ended here. We're going to continue. Our service to humanity will never end. God bless you.
And when we work together, we accomplish a lot together. God bless you. And you're right. You have my personal cell phone number. You know how to reach me, and I will continue to do and help wherever it is necessary. God bless you, and God keep you. And thank you for giving me this opportunity.
Thank you. Thank you. Now we move to a key question that many people may ask by saying, what AHRC have to do with elections? The answer is simple. Electing officials who are sensitive to human rights and civil rights are very important. And this is why AHRC play an instrumental role in educating the public at large on issues that matters to them. So elections or voting is not about race and it's not about faith. It's about qualifications, and more so, it's about the values, the stances, the positions that these candidates stand for. That's what counts to us. I know that we had a very impressive round of elections uh, back on November 2nd, and it resembled a new era, a new reflection. And here we're honored to have Sister Amanda Javsky, a councilwoman elect in the city of Hamtramck, to give us this reflection. Welcome, Amanda.
Thank you so much. So good evening, beautiful people. My name is Amanda Jakowski, like you said, and I'm very honored to be here this evening to give a few short remarks. First of all, as most of you know, we in Michigan recently had a series of very valuable municipal elections, and I would like to extend a massive thank you to everyone who ran during this time, and congratulations to those who earned the seat that they were seeking. Recognizing that the historic elections across Southeast Michigan and many others across the country are a step in the direction of having fully representative, diverse governing bodies who have the passion to spread that spirit of humanity, that theme that we have tonight. It wouldn't be a proper thank you without recognizing the voters who made their voices heard. In Hamtramck, we had an outstanding 36.25% turnout, which is relatively unheard of in terms of municipal elections. It was a very high number. And one of the major efforts that we all in the room can do today is make sure that each election from here on out at our local, state, and federal levels is have that be not an exciting number. We should be aiming to get 50% turnout or even higher. What does this really have to do with human rights is we can protect human rights by promoting and making voting clearer, easier, and more accessible across the nation, ensuring that marginalized communities are able to make their voices, needs, and concerns heard at every level of government. So again, my challenge to you is to today, before you go to bed, make a plan for how you're going to engage to increase voter turnout in your community every election cycle, one after the other, and make sure that we are hitting those higher numbers, especially in historically marginalized communities. AHRC provides many resources to stay up to date on current issues and prepare you to advocate to those elected officials, including myself, on issues that matter to you and the people around you. So thank you for being here and have a great evening.
Those who do not speak out against injustice are silent devils.
Skin color does not identify us.
Injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere.
Justice for all.
معاً ضد العنصرية.
Black lives matter.
Matter is the minimum. Black lives are worthy.
We all bleed the same color.
لا للعنصرية.
لا فرق بين أبيض وأسود إلا بالتقوى.
العدالة للجميع.
Stand firm for justice.
You cannot separate peace from freedom, because no one can be at peace unless he has his freedom.
Well, before we proceed to the following segment, I would like, on behalf of AHRC, to congratulate the three mayors-elect, the first three Arab and Muslim mayors-elect, and in Dearborn, Mayor-elect Abdullah Hamoud, and Hamtramck, Mayor-elect Dr. Amr Talib, and in Dearborn Heights, Bill Bazzi. Congratulations, and we wish them all the success. I'm sure their leadership will be an attestation to our rich diversity and inclusion in America. When we talk about opioids, we talk about substance abuse, drug addiction, and what have you. This is truly a huge challenge facing our society. It's beyond imagination. I myself being involved in this directly, and I know for a fact that there are a huge number of our young and youth are victims to this drugs industry and cartel. These victims are helpless and hopeless, even their families. And I understand that due to cultural barriers, sometimes they don't dare to speak out. They don't dare to go and seek professional help. And it ends up in a true tragedy, losing our young loved one. Opioids, behind it, many crooks, many thugs, many dealers who are driven by the greed of money and nothing but money. Doctors, pharmacists, drug companies reps, lawyers, others who are heartless and kill people in daily business. Here, we salute our law enforcement. We salute our law enforcement family and the local police on a national level, our federal agencies, in particular, the FBI, for their swift action chasing these criminals. In this regard, please watch with me this special video prepared by the FBI field office in Detroit regarding this ongoing challenge.
To talk to you today about this important topic of opioid use here in our local communities. The overdose epidemic has taken its toll on far too many Americans and their loved ones. Last month, the CDC reported drug overdose deaths were up 30% across the United States in 2020. Deaths were up over 20% in Michigan. The United States also hit a grim milestone last year with over 100,000 Americans losing their lives to overdose deaths. In Michigan, over 2,400 Michiganders lost their lives to overdoses from opioids. While the epidemic may be national, its impact is personal. Addiction is a disease that touches families in every community. It is personal to the millions who confront substance abuse every day and to the families who lost a loved one to an overdose. Addiction is a disease that touches families in every community, but no one segment of that community can fight this crisis alone. It will take all of us working together to help those who are currently addicted and to prevent others from falling victim to this terrible crisis in the future. How can you tell if a loved one is using opioids? There are certain signs to look for. Those include regularly taking an opioid in a way not intended by the doctor who prescribed it, including taking more than a prescribed dose or taking a drug because it makes a person feel good. Taking opioids just in case, even when a person is not in pain. Mood changes, including excessive swings from elation to hostility. Changes in sleep patterns. Borrowing medication from other people or losing medications so that more prescriptions can be written. Seeking the same prescription from multiple doctors. And then poor decision making, including an individual putting themselves in danger. Even if you can't put your finger on anything specific, speaking up could save the life of someone dear or close to you. A person addicted to opioids or any substance is much more likely to recover if his or her family refuses to ignore the problem and works to get it treated. If you think your loved one may be addicted to opioids, please, I urge you to talk to your doctor or a medical professional right away. Thank you all for your time here today. If we all work together, we can stop this crisis from continuing to spread. Thank you.
Welcome to the city of Detroit, a city that embodies motivation, determination, and perseverance. The Salvation Army Southeast Michigan Adult Rehabilitation Center is in the heart of the Motor City.
I think it's a great blessing for the city of Detroit and Michigan in particular to have a facility such as the AHRC Center.
All of this is made possible by the generosity of those who donate goods and purchase items from the Salvation Army's Metro Detroit thrift stores.
If I hadn't gone through the AHRC right now, I wouldn't be here. I'm positive I wouldn't be. I would be either locked up or dead.
The Salvation Army Adult Rehabilitation Center is committed to those struggling with drug and alcohol abuse, providing a safe space to focus on themselves and work towards a brighter future. We need your help to continue this essential work. If you know of someone who is struggling with drug or alcohol abuse, this is their second chance. Here, lives are rebuilt. The Salvation Army is committed to serving all those in need without discrimination.
Just take it a day at a time. It will be the hardest thing that you've ever done. And as powerless as you are over the drug, this is where you find your power within you and what you're capable of doing.
Well, thank you, Mr. Waters, Special Agent in charge of the FBI. I go to remind our fellow citizens that fighting opioids, substance abuse, and drug addiction, and those criminals who are behind it, is a common responsibility between people and the law enforcement agencies. The law enforcement agencies alone cannot do it. The community alone cannot do it. This is like the notion of the safety and the security of our nation. It's our common responsibility. Public safety, public health is our common responsibility. We have to join efforts. We have to have a real plan of action in order to combat this opioids and this substance abuse, a challenge facing all of us. Here, I have to salute the Salvation Army, the AHRC Center in Detroit, HYPE, Mr. Ali Sayed, Rabia Darwish, Batul Makki, and all the hidden soldiers and the front soldiers, actually, who are fighting and trying to help. And I call upon the community at large, don't be shy, don't be ashamed, because being shy or being ashamed could lead to have you lose your loved one, your son, or your daughter. Don't wait, seek help. Facilities are there, help are there. And I remind you again, the Salvation Army AHRC Center is there, HYPE is there, and many others. Please, please do it. Don't be hesitant about it. Now we move to a very important challenge that AHRC being dedicated to address and to deal with, which is prisons and prisoner rights. And when we talk about this challenge, it entails many issues, many tasks, and it's not an easy journey. It's not an easy job. regardless of the crime, regardless of the conviction of any person, that doesn't make them not humans. They continue to be humans, and they continue to be entitled for basic human rights and the right to treatment that they deserve as humans. Nobody is against holding any criminal or any violator of any law accountable and to the fullest of the justice terms. However, that doesn't delete or undo the basic human rights that prisoners are entitled to here in America as well as across the globe. To address this issue, I am happy to call on one of our founding members and my mentor, Imam Mustafa At-Turk, to address this issue. Unmute yourself.
My apology. That's right, Ahmad. Thank you. Greetings, everyone. Hope all is well and safe. My name is Steve Mustafa Al-Turk. I'm the Imam of the Islamic Organization of North America, IONA, in the state of Warren, and founding member of AHRC, American Human Rights Council. Among the things we do at AHRC is keeping an eye on the rights of inmates in the correctional facilities and jails. AHRC hosts and facilitates meetings with the State of Michigan Department of Corrections, MDOC, leadership headed by Ms. Heidi Washington. A diverse group of invited guests include professors, lawyers, activists, grassroots leaders took part in a constructive dialogue and discussion with Ms. Heidi Washington regarding issues of common interest and concerns related to Michigan's correctional system. Ms. Washington was very receptive and open to hear and engage in a dialogue regarding concerns raised. Our goal is to make sure that there are no human rights abuses in the jail system, and to address the concerns of inmates, which include, but not limited to, employee harassment and sexual abuse of prisoners, religious rights, particularly the Muslim population who are underrepresented by Muslim clergy. We recently worked with the Oakland jail and assisted in providing halal meal in observance of Eid al-Adha, or the sacrificial festival, something inmates who choose the religious meal called vegan don't have the privilege to eat meat. We want to make sure that the rights of all inmates are honored and respected, as Ahmad put it, regardless of what their conviction is or what their background is. They remain humans, and we want all inmates to be honored and respected, and that their rights are protected. It is crucial to have collaborative efforts and continue having an open dialogue with the MDOC to explore practical ways and to assist the inmates who need help. We at AHRC are committed to serving and addressing challenges inmates face. Thank you for joining us and for your support. God bless you and peace be with you.
The environment is so friendly. Always feel like home.
We have so much support from the staff. You meet people who are like you.
I always had a passion to help others, so this is the perfect place for me.
You're not afraid to reach out. Flora Kiwang, Cameroon.
Maklit Shunga, Ethiopia.
Javed Khan, Bangladesh. Dennis Kerr, Bosnia and Herzegovina.
It gives you what you need for the future.
Good evening. I'm Glenn Maleko, Superintendent of the Dearborn Public Schools. On behalf of our Board of Education and the entire Dearborn Public Schools, I would like to congratulate and thank AHRC for once again holding this very special celebration. We are honored to be a part of tonight's Spirit of Humanity Awards Gala. It is important to pay tribute and thank those who have made a commitment to helping others and standing up for what is right. I offer congratulations to all those who are being honored at this event. The work of AHRC is admirable, and we applaud their continued efforts to protect, promote, and defend human rights. We appreciate the great partnerships we have in our community that help us to accomplish our goals and mission. The Durham Public Schools takes great pride in the success of our students and thank all of the hardworking staff members in our schools. We look forward to a bright future ahead as we continue to work with all of our community partners to fulfill our vision to put students first and inspire, educate, and celebrate.
When we talk about hate and hate crimes, we talk about an immense challenge facing our nation. People may say, do we have good news tonight? Unfortunately, we don't. When we talk about the human rights, this is a journey of the challenges. However, the bright side about it and the good news about it is that there are stood fighters there, stood advocates, stood people who are devoted to promote human rights and the cause of human rights, to protect the human dignity and to preserve the human respect. Inclusion and diversity is one of our true American values. We all are ought to embrace it and live up to it. This is a challenge facing each of us. This is why an act of hate against any one of us is an act of hate against all of us. There is no ifs or buts about it. Hate is hate. Hate is our common enemy, period. In this spirit, I welcome a message from the American Citizens for Justice.
I'm Roland Wong with American Citizens for Justice, an Asian American civil rights organization. We salute the American Human Rights Council for its civil rights work, and we congratulate AHRC for a successful gala. We appreciate partnering with the AHRC on community conversations on racism. Enjoy the gala.
Now we move to a perspective from our AHRC women delegation, who participates annually at the United Nations Major Women Conference. For the past 2 years, the conference was held virtual, and that's for the obvious of the COVID-19 crisis. With us tonight is Dr. Layla Hajar, an AHRC advisory board, and her reflection on her participation with the other women group of AHRC.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Dr. Layla Hajar. I'm an obstetrician gynecologist with the Henry Ford Health System in the Detroit-Dearborn area. And this year, I was honored to be one of the delegates to the UN Women's Commission on the Status of Women. And this is a commission that brings awareness of women's issues such as maternal mortality, gender bias, sex trafficking. And I might add that this is not just women's issues, but everyone's issues. So as an obstetrician gynecologist, I am fully aware of the effect of discrimination and unconscious bias and social determinants have on health and on outcomes. And this has never been so blatant as with this COVID pandemic, seeing outcomes and how they differentially affected different populations. So needless to say, I was very excited to be attending this convention, and I wish I could say that I was able to attend all the sessions, but they were concurrent and they were all fascinating. And I just want to mention one session, and it was run by young people, by college students. And I was impressed by how poised they were and how eloquent and passionate, and their enthusiasm, at the same time still being very respectful and non-judgmental and tolerant. And this was really nice and heartwarming to me, because when I grew up, these were issues that were never discussed. I wasn't really even aware of them. I didn't even know the terms that they were using. So this really gave me some hope for the future. So Ahmed, Hamad, and your team, I really want to thank you. A lot of the work that you do is behind the scenes, but it is appreciated, and that's how progress is made. And I also want to encourage everyone who sees discrimination and inequity to speak up. At the end, really, it's everybody's job. Thank you.
I've never seen people pick up so many shifts. It didn't matter if they were tired. It didn't matter if they were scared, because there was a patient that needed them and their team needed them. You knew what they were walking into. Good, the bad, the hope, and the heartbreak.
The first vaccines we gave at Beaumont, that was a little bit of hope.
But you can't stop and revel in it too long, because you're not done.
Hope helps get us through it. The vaccine can help us end it. Beat the pandemic with Beaumont.
When we talk about women's rights, we talk about many issues. Simply, women's rights are human rights. As we noted earlier, our society is facing multiple challenges at many fronts. I would leave the floor to our state senator, Sylvia Santana, to address you.
Good evening. I'm glad to be here with you to advocate for human rights for all. And clearly in 2021, this work is still very necessary. People across the nation are experiencing so many injustices, inequities, and disparities. After the school shooting at Parkland in Florida in 2018, there was a real big push for federal legislation to make policy to change the way we protect our children and sustain their freedom for equality and education and having a safe environment to do it. In Michigan, we put policy and resources into supporting our schools' safety for all school districts. I introduced legislation that would support teachers, staff, as well as others in the school district to identify students who need social and behavioral support. But unfortunately, that legislation is still sitting in the House chamber. We made sure that our children had the ability to get support and help for bullying, preventing suicide, as well as requesting mental health support through a program called OK to Say in our state. Yet here today in Michigan, we have seen yesterday and the day before where at Oxford High School that domestic terrorism is still real, and that our gun laws in this state, as well as in this country, need to be changed. Back in 2020, I had to put on a bulletproof vest on our state chamber floors to do my job, because here in Michigan, in our legislature, the majority party doesn't believe that human life is important. They believe in protecting the portraits on the wall of the Capitol. We must protect human life. And in our state, we also must protect human rights. The choice to get a vaccine is ours as individuals. But now here in Michigan, we have the highest number of COVID patients in our hospitals. We have seen where this pandemic has actually shown the amount of disparities in communities, and especially our communities of color. We are a first world nation, we have access to the vaccine, and yet we're not all doing our part to protect our neighbors, our family members, as well as our friends. And we can't use natural immunity as a talking point, because we know that when all the people around us who have died in the hospital because they did not get a vaccine, they're either barely making it or they've passed on. So we have to do our part. Today, women's choice for reproductive health rights are being attacked across many states in our country. Our U.S. Supreme Court justices have taken the opportunity to deliberate on Roe v. Wade, and now they have a decision to make. But let's be clear. A woman's right to choose is our freedom and ours alone. Texas is treating women like slaves by sending out bounty hunters to go after them and the people who support them in their choices. Mississippi's law is going to take away the freedoms to choose that were established by Roe v. Wade. This impact will have a different impact on poor women because they won't have the means to choose to move to another state or fly somewhere to have that freedom to choose. If the US Supreme Court decides to move in this direction to overturn the protections of reproductive health, Michigan will go back to an antiquated law from 1931 that will make abortion a felony in our state. Women are not property, and we should not be treated as second-class citizens in this state or in this world. But taking away our right to choose will do just that. We must continue to stand for human rights, and I will continue to serve and support what matters to all people in our state.
With another perspective about the AHRC work this year, despite all odds and despite all the challenges, I leave you with a reflection of one of our advisory board members, Dr. Timur.
Hello, I am Dr. D.L. Timur, and I'm a proud member of the Advisory Council here at the American Human Rights Council. I was so honored when Brother Ahmad asked that I be a part of the council, because I know Ahmad to just be a gentleman who really is a proponent of bringing people together and people living in peace. And that's why I have been honored to be a part of the roundtable discussions that have been a part of the American Human Rights Council for over a year now online. They are virtual sessions where so many people are able to come together from different walks of life, all different walks of life, from law enforcement to different agencies. But the whole point is that everyone can come together regardless of race, regardless of nationality. I am here right now at Pensacola Beach, or on Pensacola Beach, just on the Gulf of Mexico, which is behind me. And I intentionally waited to film while I was here because Florida has been known for many, many years, and Pensacola in particular, during the civil rights movement and before that, to have signs in different restaurants and a lot of segregation that took place here. But those signs that you can look them up, just Google them, that were all over Florida, again, particularly in Pensacola, that said no Negroes, no dogs, and no Mexicans allowed. And there were signs just like this around everywhere. Sometimes they would say no Irish. They would send a number of different people that were deemed to be undesirable during that time. And somehow we are allowing the table to turn where we're seeing a lot more racism that is out like it was back then. It had gotten to a place, I'm not going to say racism ever went away because it never did. And I don't think it's going to ever go away wholly and completely. However, when we have these roundtable discussions and people can sit together and they can talk to each other and we can listen to each other, then we can begin to understand where some of the angst may be coming from, and we can work those things out. Sometimes things happen and hatred is developed because people are not listening to other people. There are presuppositions and stereotypes because people are in one area. They block themselves off, and there are these different homogenous areas all around our country. Well, virtually, when we can come together, those walls are torn down. We do have places all around the country where they may be rural areas, and people look the same and they don't get out, and it may be because of work, it may be because of finance, whatever the case may be. When you have these virtual roundtables, all of those walls are knocked down and people can see each other and they can hear from each other. And when you can hear and see each other, then you can begin to love each other. So I am again so proud to be a part of the American Human Rights Council and do our little part in our little corner of the world to try to break down the walls of discrimination, break down the walls of hatred, and come together as one people who have a common goal. And that's to live well, to love well, and to be a part of this experiment, as they call it, called the United States, where there were groups of people who had the audacity to believe that we had the right at life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And Brother Ahmad and all of those members of the American Human Rights Council are definitely doing their part to begin to make that happen. Thank you so much again for taking this time to hear just what I have to say and my thoughts on the American Human Rights Council and the roundtable discussions. I look forward to being a part of more of these in 2022 and beyond. And I know that we're making a dent where we are using what we can and what we've got. Thank you so much, and God bless you all. Bye-bye.
Welcome to the city of Detroit, a city that embodies motivation, determination, and perseverance. The Salvation Army Southeast Michigan Adult Rehabilitation Center is in the heart of the Motor City.
I think it's a great blessing for the city of Detroit and Michigan in particular to have a facility such as the AHRC Center.
All of this is made possible by the generosity of those who donate goods and purchase items from the Salvation Army's Metro Detroit thrift stores.
If I hadn't gone through the AHRC right now, I wouldn't be here. I'm positive I wouldn't be. I would be either locked up or dead.
The Salvation Army Adult Rehabilitation Center is committed to those struggling with drug and alcohol abuse, providing a safe space to focus on themselves and work towards a brighter future. We need your help to continue this essential work. If you know of someone who is struggling with drug or alcohol abuse, this is their second chance. Here, lives are rebuilt. The Salvation Army is committed to serving all those in need without discrimination.
Just take it a day at a time. It will be the hardest thing that you've ever done. And as powerless as you are over the drug, this is where you find your power within you and what you're capable of doing.
Well, first, I want to thank our state representative, Cynthia Johnson. I take responsibility that I failed to communicate, but you know that we love you and we know that you're an astute fighter for justice and for human rights. I will end this gala tonight by reminding everyone that the COVID-19 crisis is not over and the challenges arises are very serious. They cannot be taken lightly. So I urge fellow Americans to take all the health precautions possible, to wear the mask, and not to take this as something that is not important. Do it for the sake of your loved one. Take the vaccine, take the booster, take every step that needed that can help you to save your life and save the life of others around you. We had a painful experience. We lost so many innocent lives to the COVID, and God knows what's next with the new variant. Our experience in the AHRC was painful as well. We lost one of our own founding members, State Rep, the late Isaac Robinson. Our galas will never be the same without you, Isaac. We love you. God bless your soul and bless the souls of all who passed. This is God's will and that's God's wisdom, and we surrender to it. I want to urge every one of you, once again, those who have victims of opioids, drugs, substance abuse, not to be afraid, not to be worried, and to have the courage and to have the guts to seek professional help. It's there and ready to help you. Don't make cultural barriers. Don't make the fear factor, the shame factor, be a reason that could lead to the death of one of your loved one. Those criminals around have no mercy. This is why we have to be ready on an ongoing basis, joining hands with our law enforcement agencies in order to catch those who are killing our young people with no sense of humanity whatsoever. Yes, we need to be vigilant, responsibly vigilant. Domestic terrorism, gun violence, extremism are not a joke. They are real. They are part of our life, unfortunately. And it's our common responsibility as well to be responsible and to be vigilant and to be part of the fight, not only to protect, but more so to prevent. Also, on behalf of AHRC, once again, I want to thank all of our sponsors, all of our supporters who, despite all the challenges and the hardships, they were there for us. Without them, we could have not managed to continue our noble work, serving humanity, our common humanity, our shared future. Also, I want to, on behalf of AHRC family, to extend to you all a happy holiday seasons, a happy Christmas, Merry Christmas, Kwanzaa, New Year, name it. It's our basic right as humans just to keep the happiness around us and not to surrender to pain and agony and the negative challenges that is surrounding us from all ends. God bless you all and have a good night.